Hey guys, it's time for another video on gay dating. This one is specifically going to be about gay dating in the South. The reason that I wanted to make this video is that I just spent the last 6 weeks in the South. Every week I went to a different city. So the first week I was in Asheville, North Carolina. Second week I was in Charleston, South Carolina. Third week I was in Atlanta, Georgia. Fourth week I was in Savannah, Georgia. Fifth week I was in New Orleans, Louisiana. And the final week, last week, was Austin, Texas. And the reason that I chose these cities was that each of them intrigued me in some way. A few of them I've been to before, but I thought that they were a good, sort of well-rounded version of the South. Like in Asheville, I got my hiking and mountain culture. You know, in Charleston, I got kind of like the old money, pretty small town part of the South. Same with Savannah. Atlanta, of course, is like the one metropolis out of all those places. I guess Austin is kind of too. But each of them I picked for different reasons. And of course, as you guys know, if you've been watching my videos, you know that every time I travel like this, I am interested, I'm always curious in the back of my mind what gay dating is like in those places and what it's like in general to be gay in those places. So I want to start off with a disclaimer, which is that obviously I'm aware that just being in these cities for 6 weeks is not a long time, and 1 week in each city is obviously not a long time either. So I'm aware that this is like a very sort of superficial general analysis, but it's purely my first initial observations and just the vibe that I got as a gay person and trying to navigate, I guess, the gay communities of each city. So, the stereotype is that being gay in the South is really difficult, right? That, the South is very bigoted and they don't like gay people and all this stuff. I didn't feel that at all in any of the places that I visited. But again, every place that I visited was pretty modern and pretty progressive. And they're all basically places that I think a lot of gay people either live in or visit. They're either like the really pretty towns that are very touristy to begin with, like Savannah and Charleston, or they're cultural hubs that naturally an LGBT community would form in them, like New Orleans or Austin, Texas, for example, or Asheville, and obviously Atlanta. However, it still seemed difficult to me to be gay in those places, purely because it's just so limited. I went to gay bars in almost every city that I visited out of those 6 cities, and naturally most of them had a very small gay community, both on the apps and in the bars. Like most of these places had just a few bars. Of course, Austin, New Orleans, and Atlanta were pretty different from the other 3 cities in that they're much bigger cities and they all are kind of known for having a sizable gay community. So I will say those 3 were a little different, and it wasn't like Savannah or Asheville or Charleston, where like pretty quickly I swiped through everybody on Tinder and Bumble and those kinds of apps. But still, I just was underwhelmed. Yes, there are plenty of gay bars in Atlanta and also in New Orleans. In Austin, I think there were maybe like 5. But I don't know. Overall, also coming from New York City, I'm used to gay people being everywhere and gay bars being everywhere, and you could argue there's more than one gay neighborhood in New York, so maybe it's just coming from there, it's difficult to see things so differently. But I would still say that gay dating seemed kind of tough and just limited. I also forget that, me coming from cities, like I lived in Miami for the summer, before that I lived in New York City for almost a decade, and I'm moving to LA later this year. Those are all places where you have everything kind of around you, but in these towns, in these cities, people drive everywhere. And so I guess it's not bizarre to think of it as like they're willing to drive 20 miles maybe to meet somebody. I don't know. I have kind of a fascination with the South to begin with. Just the culture is so different, and to me there's just a mystique about the South. There's the hospitality, the Southern charm. Of course, it depends on where you go, but I picked places where I thought I could find that, and I did. But I'm not gonna lie, I also love the concept of a Southern gentleman. And the funny thing is, or the ironic thing is, I have met a few Southern gentlemen, meaning like, charming, well-mannered, good-looking guys from the South in New York City back in the day when I lived there. And so I always sort of built this up like, I'm sure they're everywhere in the South. Like when you go to Charleston or even in Atlanta, like these well-known southern cities or towns. And the irony is that I didn't meet any of them, and I barely even saw guys that I was into on the apps. I kind of built it up in my head because I was searching for like a southern gentleman, even just to see one on an app and be like, oh, they exist. And it didn't really happen. What I will say, which was very peculiar to me because it's never happened, was that I've never received so many Grindr messages while I was in the South. Like, just about every one of the cities, it was like constant messages coming through. And that's never happened to me in any other city, any other place really that I've ever been. I was trying to figure out why that is, and I figured maybe because gay dating seems more difficult and the population sizes the gay population sizes are smaller in general, maybe the hookup route is just easier for people. Or maybe it's just that they're more open-minded in the South, at least gay people. They're less sort of stuck up or like about following social mores, and they're like, we want to hook up, we'll just hook up. I don't know, I'm not sure what it is, but it was just very different. Let me know if you've been to the South or if you live in the South and what your opinions are about gay dating in the South.